Hello, welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Happy Christmas Eve, or at least that's my plans for getting the video up today, we shall see. Again, I'm having a little nod at festivity with my Christmas headband. Yes, I wore this yesterday. No, I'm not putting the tinsel back on again. So, it's here. My cast on frenzy is going to begin today. So our 12 cast ons cal has already started. It actually started a few days ago, and I know a couple of people have contacted me to say they have already started casting on, which is really exciting. But for me, my first cast on will be today. However, I would not have a video today to show you unless I stayed up till midnight editing. So if you've watched in the past, I tend to record a little chat in the mornings on the day that I'm casting on about the project, the yarn, etc, etc, and then I come back the next morning and confess, show off, share the progress that I've made on the project that day. So I wanted to put a video up on Christmas Eve, so I decided to have a little confessions video of how my projects from last year's 12 have progressed. And if you're sat here thinking, Angela, what the blooming heck are you chatting about, I'll link a video up above where I announced the 12 cast ons and chatted a little bit more about the history, the rules, how you can join in. So if you haven't watched that video, I would recommend that you go and watch that one first, and then you will be all up to speed and will know what I am waffling on about. Time to confess. So last year, of course, I cast on 12 projects and I have finished 9. Thumbs up. Frogged 1 and 2 are still on the needles. So I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad. I'm pleased to have finished 9. There are a couple of big projects in my finishes, which is really nice. The project that I frogged was the scarf that I started with some beautiful yarn that I purchased when we were travelling in New Zealand a few years ago, when we were able to travel and do all that fun stuff. And you might remember earlier on in the year, James made a guest appearance. I was making that scarf for James. When I bought the kit, he said he would wear the scarf. And then he popped on the channel earlier on in the summer and he confessed that he would not wear the scarf. Well, I thought, blow that. I am not going to put the effort into making this thing. I don't need a scarf. James is not going to wear it. So I decided to pull that one off the needles and I will reclaim the yarn and use it for another project. It's beautiful yarn in lovely colours. So I will find something more deserving for that project than a scarf that's not going to be used and loved. The last 2 years, one project a year has been frogged, which is absolutely fine because not everything we cast on works out how we want to. Either our yarn and pattern combination just doesn't jive like we wanted it to, or we cast on something thinking it's going to bring us happiness and joy, and for whatever reason down the line you really not feeling it. So I am definitely of the mind that you know, beautiful yarns can be reclaimed, so why soldier on with something that you're just not enjoying. So one project frogged. I have 2 projects still on the needles and both of them still require a fair amount of work. So I shall confess those projects that are still in progress. So first one is living in this lovely giant project bag, which was a bag that I bought from the lovely Lee. I will link the Lee YouTube channel down below. I don't think Lee's making bags at the moment. I don't think her shop is open. But yeah, I purchased this as one of the first project bags I purchased. Oh, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now when I first got back into knitting obsessively. And it's, yeah, as you can see, it's a great sweater size bag. And in here is my pumpkin ale cardigan, which is an all-over cable cardigan, patterned by Isolde Teague. I think it was a Rhinebeck sweater a little while ago, so you might have seen this because the pattern's been knocking around for a while. And I have to confess, it is a true confession, that my project is still in the same state as it was after my first day of working on it. And considering the number of sweaters, spoiler, that I'd like to cast on for my 12 cast ons this year, this is pretty shameful. Can you tell? This is me hanging my head in shame. I literally, I don't know if this this probably sounds quite flippant, and I don't mean it to be so, but I don't care. The the joy for me is casting on these projects, is having them on the needles, and I know I want this cardigan. I know that I will get back to it at some point. I have all of this beautiful yarn that I purchased ages ago. I have the pattern. Obviously I have it started. I just needed to find the time to get back to it, and that will happen at some point. So yeah, if I felt like it wouldn't, this project would have been vlogged by now, but obviously it hasn't. It's still on the needles, and it will get worked on at some point. So yes, Pumpkin Ale by Isolde Teague. Still a long way to go. Oh dear. The second project that is not finished is my Vertices Unite, which is a pattern by Stephen West. It's living in this lovely tote bag that was a gift from my dear friend Caroline, and I started making good progress on this project. The first section is done. I stalled after this section though. I am using some beautiful natural dyed yarn from the lovely Fee of Flourish Fibres, and I had paired this yarn with some other natural dyed yarn from Handmade over yonder, but when I picked up, so the next section involves picking up along one of the edges and starting to knit on the next section. When I did that, I really did not enjoy how my colours were playing together, and I couldn't quite figure out a way to work in the yarns that I'd originally chosen into this project. So I ended up purchasing a new skein of yarn from Fee to work into this project. So these are now the colours that I'm going to be adding in to work alongside this first section. I just haven't had the time to get back to it, so that's one that I really want to revisit in the new year, because Fee's yarns are beautiful. The yarns I'm using are, I think, are all non-superwash, so it's going to be a really warm, cozy, snuggly shawl, and I definitely want that. Yeah, I just lost a bit of steam after my first initial sort of colour choices didn't work out. So yes, they're the confessions. So now time to move on to happier things and the projects that I finished. So I finished 3 sweaters. So this is one, Radiate by Johi Locatelli. So yay! I also finished the Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits, which I finished earlier on in the year, and I have been wearing this to death. It's so cozy and warm, and I've just been kindly gifted 3 lovely skeins of yarn, which I'll chat about on another video, but I'm so tempted to get some matching mohair and make another one, because I love that sweater so much. I love all the sweaters that I've made. Sweater number 3 is the Normal People sweater, which is one of my most recent finishes. Yes, it still has the ends hanging out, because if you remember, I am contemplating whether to rip back a little bit on the sort of folded turtleneck that I've knit. I knit sort of like the maximum length recommended in the lovely pattern, which is by Charlie, but I need to wear this a couple of times around the house to see if this length works for me, because when I initially tried it on, it felt like it was just a little bit too high for me, so I might end up ripping back half an inch or an inch just to make it a little bit more wearable for me. So I'm not weaving in the ends on this project until I have figured that out, but I haven't quite got round to doing that yet. But for all intents and purposes, that one got finished as well. So 3 sweaters ain't bad really, is it? Ain't bad. I finished 2 pairs of socks. So I finished these lovely sheep socks, which were, the yarn was a gift from the lovely Jeanette, who is the moderator over in our Ravelry group, and this yarn is dyed in such a way that if you knit it to a particular tension, you get this amazing field of sheep appear. So I did finish those, and I have been wearing them, and I have to confess, I pulled these out of the dirty washing pile. Good job it's not smelly vision. Yeah, so I pulled them out to show you. So yes, they got finished. Absolutely glorious. Love those. And alongside those, another pair of socks, also from the dirty washing pile. Confessions of a YouTuber. Knit from Patton's Croy yarn, a gift from my dear friend Erin, and this is the blue stripe rag colourway, and I just adore this colourway. When I started watching knitting podcasts, I saw loads of people knitting with this colourway, and this yarn is not easy to get here in the UK, so I was so excited when Erin sent me this. I know to some of you folks in the US and Canada, you're like, why is she getting excited over Patton's Croy? But yeah, it's just a lovely colourway and a really nice hard wearing yarn. I wear these all the time, and they're still looking pretty gosh darn new, aren't they? So yeah, 3 sweaters, 2 pairs of socks. I also started an amigurumi from the Edwards Menagerie book from Toft, Georgina the Hippo, and she was finished quite quickly. I think she was possibly the first project for my 12 that got finished in the new year, and I crocheted her from a precious sort of mini skein of worsted weight yarn that was sent to me in a swap, and I paired it with some of my hand spun, I think, if I remember rightly. I have quite enough of the main colour. I gave her stripy arms and legs. So yeah, she sits on my shelf. And then I also cast on and finished 3 shawl projects. So the first one was the Storm Shawl, which is a pattern by Hohe Locatelli. So I've got a, a Hohe make along going on here with my Radiate and my Storm Shawl. This is a 1 skein shawl, and I've always steered away from 1 skeiners in the past because I knit a couple and didn't really end up finding them quite big enough. So I've destashed a couple, but I'm learning to figure out what works for me in a 1 skein shawl, and something with a bit of a lacy pattern or with some detail like this one has got these huge sort of drop stitch sections, which kind of makes the yarn go a little bit further once it's blocked. This has also got garter stitch, which also stretches out quite a bit when blocked. So yeah, this shawl I wear a lot, and this I knit from a skein of hand spun yarn too. This is probably the hand spun, still to this date maybe, that I'm most proud of. It was a beautiful fibre from Ashford, a merino silk blend in the poppy seed colourway, which was a gift from a lovely friend of mine in New Zealand, and yeah, just love this shawl. Wear that on all the time. And the same is also the case for the next shawl that I finished, which is just over a 1 skein shawl. Although, to be fair, I do have a little bit of the main colour left, so this is probably very similar to in size to the Storm Shawl. And this is the Ellie sock set shawl. The pattern was kindly gifted to me by my lovely friend Erin, and who was also the kind gifter of the Patton's Croy socks. And the yarn, the main colour yarn, was a gorgeous sock blank that was gifted to me by my dear friend Mandy, and I paired that with a mini skein from Caroline, Colourful Creativity, to make this lovely sock set shawl. So you just work in, alongside your main colour, you work in a few short row sections to make this beautiful pattern. And the idea is that it will work with the sort of sock sets that you often get from indie dyers, where you get a skein, like a 100-gram skein of a main colour with either a 20 or a 50-gram sort of mini for contrast heels, toes. Yeah, I wear that one all the time as well. Love the colours in that one. And then finally, I finished my Waiting for Rain shawl, and I have to confess I have not worn this yet because it's still waiting to be blocked. This year's just been chaotic, hasn't it? So I'm going to give myself some leeway, even though this has been finished for ages. I need the floor space up here to be able to block my projects, and at the moment it's just chaos up here because we bought tons of stuff home from the shop when I closed down my bricks and mortar yarn shop earlier on this year. This is quite a big room in terms of area, but it's also tucked away at the top of the house, so it's a convenient place to kind of dump all the things. I mean, mostly my things, I have to confess, but yeah, it's just a bit chaotic, and I don't have the floor space up here for blocking at the moment. But yes, Waiting for Rain, a pattern by Sylvia McFadden, who is Soft Sweater. This is a really big, almost 2 skein shawl with these gorgeous lace pattern sort of short row wedges knitting. And I really do want to wear this. I could wear it without blocking, but I think it would really benefit from a block just to open up those beautiful lace panels. So yeah, 3 shawls, 3 sweaters, 2 pairs of socks, an amigurumi, 2 projects still on the needles, 1 project frogged. That's the story of my 12 cast-ons last year. Yeah, I'm really looking forward now to starting my first project today and getting stuck in to this year's 12 projects. And I hope that some of you will join in along with me to cast on one or all of the projects. If you've already cast something on, then please let me know in the comments below. If I can, when I'm making these videos, I'd love to share what everyone else has been casting on. So yeah, if you have already started your cast-ons, then please leave me some details of what you've been making in the comments below. I'm off to gather my things for my first cast-on. So I'll be back tomorrow to share what that is. But until we get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. And if you celebrate, Merry Christmas.